And if there's a problem with the technology impacting the proceedings of a meeting, the meeting may be recessed at the discretion of the mayor to confirm that the electronic format is performing effectively. Before we proceed further with the agenda. In the event of a connection or service disruption to those attending electronically, the mayor may recess the meeting to allow for attempts to reconnect. So with that, we will call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. And I will just make note at this time that Councillor Parks has sent her regrets for the meeting this evening. And Councillor Budrick is here. He's virtual. And so he's participating fully in the meeting as well. We had no closed session this evening. So the next item will be the playing of the national anthem. And I would ask everyone to rise that can. We acknowledge, excuse me, we acknowledge that we are being hosted on ancestral lands of the Haudenosaunee, Mississauga, and Omama people. We acknowledge and welcome the presence of all Indigenous people, including the Métis, Inuit, and other First Nations from across this vast land, who also make this place home. The lands we are on today are recognized in the Truro Wampum, Dish with One Spoon Treaty, Treaty 27, and the Crawford Purchase. And I'd just like to thank the deputy for leading the national anthem. Anyone who knows my singing skills would be thankful that he did it and not me. So we're at the open forum. The first 15 minutes of any regular council meeting is set aside for open forum. An individual may address council once and for no more than 3 minutes to voice opinion on subjects of municipal concern, excluding matters of subject to public meeting. All information provided during this meeting is considered part of the public record as well as the public meeting to follow. With that, we don't have anyone in the audience addressing council. I would just ask if there's anyone in the virtual audience, if they use the raise hand feature, we can bring you into the meeting. Just planning. Okay, thank you. So that takes care of the open forum. The next is a public meeting. Aurora by the Lake Phase 2, Loyalist Meadows Limited, draft plan of subdivision, D12294, official plan amendment, D09004, 2022, and zoning bylaw amendment, D14016, 2022. And I see we have staff that have come forward. Is there anything that staff have to present at this time?
Through the mayor, no, we do not, but the applicants' planning staff are here with us virtually, and they've asked to make a presentation as part of the public open house.
Okay, can we bring the planning staff into the meeting? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Angela Scaveras.
You're not coming through on our volume here. It looks like you're unmuted, but you're not. We're just checking our equipment.
Okay, I checked everything on my end and it was okay. Can you hear me now?
We're just trying to get the volume working within chambers here. So if you could just hang on for a minute, well,
Sure.
Staff
No
are working on it.
Can you try now, Angela?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Is that okay?
As long as
You'll have to stop yours when, yeah. Okay, whoops. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
You okay? You okay now?
yes, if you could please proceed. We've got
Perfect.
a system that we think will work, so we'll proceed with it.
Excellent. Okay, so I'll just share my screen. Everybody can see that okay?
Can you hear that all right? You should be able to.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to provide council and the public with an overview of the proposed residential development for the Phase 2 Aurora by the Lake lands. I'm joined this evening by Roderick Sutherland of Caitland Corporation, who can assist in responding to any questions that council may have. So Aurora by the Lake, as you know, is a residential community comprised of 3 phases, generally located north of Main Street between Sir John Johnson Drive and Somerset Drive. The area was previously referred to as Windermere Estates by the previous owner. Phase 2 lands, which are subject to this application, are located north of Phase 1 and are outlined in red on the slide, just north of Purdy and Gildersleeve, which is currently under construction. Singles are located to the west and east of the subject area, and semi-detached lots are located to the south and southeast. The vacant lands to the north are part of the Phase 3 developments, and further east is the Millhaven Institution. So the Phase 2 property, or the subject lands, has an area of approximately 8.8 hectares or 21.74 acres. The lands are designated low-density residential in the township's official plan, which permits singles, semis, and duplexes with a maximum density of 37.5 units per net hectare. The proposed single detached density component of the development is 19.38 units per net hectare. The official plan, an official plan amendment, is required to redesignate a portion of the lands to medium density residential in order to allow freehold and street front townhouses. The medium density designation permits townhouses and a density of up to 75 units per net hectare. The proposed medium density component for the subject lands is 35.4 units per net hectare, well below the permitted maximum and also below the low density maximum. The proposed development reflects current provincial policy initiatives, which the county and township policies are aligned with, to provide a range of housing types and sizes. It allows for modest intensification, taking advantage of the available infrastructure and services in the area. So the existing zoning today is residential type 2, exception 5 holding, residential type 3 holding, and development, which reflects the previous draft plan approvals and rezonings. We are proposing amendments to the R2 and R3 in order to permit singles with minimum frontages of 15 meters and 12 meters respectively. And a zoning bylaw amendment is required to permit some reductions in the proposed frontages and zone provisions. And the details of those changes I will go through a little bit later. This is the proposed draft plan of subdivision. And the application proposes to create 40 13-meter detached dwellings, which is hard to see on this drawing. I apologize, but it's sort of the darker of the yellow. 52 11-meter detached dwellings, which is the lighter and is more around sort of Street A in this area and around here. 31 7-meter bungalow townhouses, which are the lighter pink on the east side of Windermere, sort of on the outer edges of the site. 26 6-meter townhouses, which are internal to the site here, and these are standard street townhouses. There are 2 public walkway blocks. The connections are shown in green. One is on the west here, which connects to the existing walkway on Jessup Lane, and another one over on the east side, over on this side, which connects to the open space block. The townhouses are 1 and 2 stories, which is compatible with the surrounding area. In terms of servicing, there is adequate water and sanitary sewer capacity available to service the proposed development. The water main to the water tower exists in the proposed Windermere Boulevard right-of-way, so that's the extension of Windermere Boulevard north of Main Street. The local water mains and sanitary sewers exist on Windermere Boulevard, Bidwell Drive, Gildersleeve Boulevard, and Purdy Road. And the stormwater runoff will be addressed through the existing stormwater management facility, which is located on Main Street and has been sized to control for the 100-year storm event. With respect to transportation, A traffic impact study was prepared by WSP, which addressed all 3 phases of the Aura by the Lake development, as well as the Loyalist Country Club Estates up to phase 13. The report addressed the capability of the roads to accommodate the traffic at various intersections and for service access. Mitigation measures were recommended, which included a roundabout at Windermere and Main Street, which is to be installed by the township, and traffic signalization at Somerset and Heritage. Cul-de-sacs have been designed to meet the turning movement requirements for fire trucks, waste collection vehicles, and snow plows. As well, some stop sign locations have been recommended by the consulting engineer as well, the traffic engineer. With respect to environmental, a scoped environmental impact assessment was prepared by Savanta, now GEI. The report concludes the area of the draft plan occurs in areas relatively open and or previously subject to past or ongoing disturbance. There's a large portion of land within the area which has been used for recreational purposes by local residents, which includes ATV trails, walking and hiking trails. So those lands have already been disturbed. And the water tower access road is also located on the subject site. There will be a removal of a portion of the woodland, although it's not anticipated to have measurable impact on the habitat. The area that is to be removed is sort of lesser quality, and the higher quality woodland is being preserved. There's also a recommendation to fence the rear yards that are abutting the woodlands and provide educational materials to homeowners. With respect to noise control feasibility study was prepared by SS Wilson for phases 2 and 3 to address noise sources from transportation, as well as the Millhaven Firearms Training Range, which is located northeast of the site. Mitigation measures include subdivision design, so the location of the townhouses, building heights, sort of physical design. Window design and location, so no exterior windows would be located in the areas of the highest noise, and air conditioning and forced air and heating system requirements. So I know this is a little bit difficult to read, but this is the proposed residential zoning. What is currently permitted is on the left side, and the proposed is on the right side. So the frontages, I'll just go through this quickly. Frontages are currently 15 meters and 12 meters. We are proposing they be reduced to 13 meters and 11 meters, and introducing the 7 meter townhouses. Front yard setbacks. The R2 is currently 3.5 meters up to a maximum of 8 meters. The R3 is 7.5 meters, and we're requesting 6 meters across the board. Same with side yard setbacks, interior side yard setbacks to 1.2 meters. Exterior side yard setbacks, so that's corner lots, be reduced to 3 meters. An increase in lot coverage. And also, one of the amendments we're requesting is with respect to the definition of site triangle. Currently, the town standard is 9 meters, and we are asking that this be reduced to 6 meters, as well as the distance of the driveway from the triangle. So these standards are more in keeping with current best practices. And the site triangles are intended to ensure that there's a good visibility at the intersections and separation of driveway from the intersection in order to reduce conflict. And the smaller distances will still provide appropriate visibility and separation. A number of municipalities have reduced their site triangles for local roads down to 6 meters, including the City of Ottawa, and the City of Kingston has actually gone down to 4.5 meters. So the requested changes to the definition and driveway setback provision will continue to provide safe traffic operation. So in summary, the proposed subdivision will be comprised of 149 lots with a mix of single detached, bungalow townhouses, and standard townhouses. It is consistent with provincial legislation and policy initiatives. It conforms to the county's official plan. It conforms to the Loyalist official plan with the exception of the official plan amendment required to permit the townhouses. A zoning amendment is required to address a decrease in the various standards. An amendment to the definition of site triangle to reduce to 6 meters and reduce the driveway setback from the corner to 6 meters. And all of the technical studies, which are currently being reviewed by township staff, support the proposed development. And I've reviewed the town staff's report. It's very comprehensive, and I don't think there was anything else to add to that. So I'm happy to respond to any questions that council may have.
Thank you. Council, any questions for the consultant? Councilor Broderick.
Thank you. That's gonna be, we good? I'm gonna echo, I guess. Just thank you for the presentation. Just a few questions. One of the things that I've heard a lot is when you talk about setbacks is sidewalks and parking. And no matter what you do, there's going to be 2-car families or 3 in some cases. So how does this plan address? I didn't see any mention of sidewalks in the plan.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the town staff will require sidewalks. I'm not 100% sure where those sidewalks are being located at this point in time, but those will be a requirement of the township. With respect to parking, there is still, the units will have integrated garages and there will still be room on the driveways. The setbacks still allow for a car on the driveway. So that's still being, that's consistent. It won't be eliminated.
You just said the key term, a car. And I just want to get that across that in many cases, there's more than 1 car. Just a couple other comments. No mention really of recreation. I assume maybe you're just going to pay the 5% holdback or whatever the number is. And just the idea of the woodland, I guess you said something along the lines of the better woodland being retained. But does that then go into phase 3? Is it still retained? Because I assume phase 3 is going to go into the same situation where there's woodland that in this plan is called maybe prime or better woodland. And in your report, you refer to the woodland that's there now on page 4 as sparse. So I'm just trying to think beyond phase 2. Where's the woodland go from there?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, with respect to the parkland, the 5%, I believe the councillor is referring to, it's my understanding that the developer had provided a large park block as part of the overall subdivision area. So there is a park that has been provided, or parkland that has been provided, and they are providing linkages to allow for access to that system. With respect to the woodland, I'm obviously not the environmental consultant, but my understanding is there is a better quality woodland to the north in phase 3 and beyond, and those lands will be they've been assessed as part of a larger environmental impact study. So they haven't looked at the phases on a phase by phase basis. They've looked at the quality of the woodland for the larger lands, and then it's further broken down as each phase has come along. So in this particular location, the quality of the woodlot in terms of the habitat that it provides for birds and things like that is not as strong. They don't use this area as much as they use other surrounding areas, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Councillor Willis.
Through the mayor. You presented that this project is going to be 149 units. If the reduction in the standards that are in the zoning and the official plan isn't approved, how many units would you have then?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure if Roderick is able to answer that question. I don't know what the original approval was for.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do not have that information at hand, but it was previously approved for a single detached lot, so it would be substantially less than what we're proposing today.
Thank you. Any other questions from council at this time? Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. And through the mayor, just a question on the densities, and so and just from my understanding that so the low density residential density you mentioned was 37.5, and as proposed here for the single family dwelling part of it, and as proposed here it's will be 19.4. So and I'm just wondering about how this plays in with the ability to add second dwellings, and so does this this talks about the sort of units as proposed, and then maybe this doesn't come into play because the lot coverages you run up against the lot coverages, or could second dwellings be added in this case?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's a good question. The additional dwelling units, it gets a little complicated the way that the wording is for those. They can be accommodated within the primary dwelling. So you could have a second unit, let's say in a basement or above an integrated garage or whatever. And another unit can be accommodated in an accessory dwelling. So if you had a separate garage, or you could have something like a garden suite, provided that the lot and the zoning can accommodate that. So in this instance, I would suspect that a second unit could be accommodated in all of the houses, with the exception maybe of the townhouses in the basement. That doesn't get counted as part of your density, so they're permitted as of right, and doesn't play into the density component. But technically, I suppose they could each have a unit.
Any other questions at this time? Being none. Thank you for the presentation and the answers, responses to the questions, and we'll proceed into the public meeting at this time.
Thank you.
So if there's anyone in the virtual audience that wishes to speak on this topic, please use the raise hand feature and we can bring you into the meeting. There, okay. Council, we've had a chance to read it and look at during the public portion of it. Are there any comments on this item? Councillor Willis.
Through your worship. Following on Councillor Broderick's questions, I have serious concerns about creating more subdivisions with parking problems where there's on-street parking, because it's only one car. So the official plan and the zoning were developed by smart people to reflect the vision for the township. And I am very reluctant to continuously approve rezoning applications that go against that original vision in the official plan and the zoning bylaws. So that's my comment on it.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? I have one myself. I certainly understand where Councillor Willis and Councillor Broderick, where their comments are coming from, but the one that I wanted to bring up is actually the visibility triangles. that's always a concern to me because a lot, I guess, in one way of looking at it, some of the other relief that is being looked for, it increases density and it does a number of things. And we can always say, well, the market will dictate if it's acceptable or not. But visibility triangles are a safety issue, and that's a road authority issue. And I have real concerns about reducing the visibility triangles without some extensive investigation through our own staff, just to make sure. I know there's a lot of components to it, but I guess the other thing is when you reduce the visibility triangle and allow the driveway to come closer, typically, we'd like to think that no one would park between the closest entrance and the corner, but they do park right adjacent to the entrance on the opposite side of it. So that if we reduce the triangle and reduce the setback, the distance to the entrance, and a car parks there, that's an added obstruction for anyone coming to the intersection and being able to safely make a turn into oncoming traffic. So that's one of the, I believe this is the first time I remember seeing this request come forward. So I wanted to bring it forward for the sake of a thorough review, basically on a safety issue. Yes. Yes, Councillor Broderick.
If I could ask maybe staff for clarification on something was mentioned about the township paying for a roundabout. Can you explain that? Why we'd be in that situation versus why the developer wouldn't be doing it?
Sounds like a me question. Yes. Sorry, guys. Thanks, James.
Just for clarification, that's the roundabout on Loyalist Parkway at Windermere. Is that the one we're discussing?
That's the intersection, but possibly not around it, depending on the technical.
Yes. It's undecided still. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from council? And Councillor Budrick, through the meeting, if I miss your hand because I'm looking sideways, please feel free to speak up. So with that, brings the public meeting to a close. We have a recommendation that the report from the Development Services Division, September 25th, 2023, Republic Meeting, Aurora by the Lake, Phase 2, Loyalist Meadows Limited, Draft Plan of Subdivision D12-294, Official Plan Amendment D09-004, 2022, and a zoning bylaw amendment D14-016, 2022 be received, and that a recommendation be brought forward to council once the comments from the township departments, agencies, and the public have been addressed. Do we have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Budrick, so moved. Seconded by Councillor Broderick. Mover, any comments?
No, through you, sir, some great ideas from
Oh,
our colleagues.
We're just 1 second, Councillor Budrick. Can you try again? We'll make sure we.
Sure. Some great comments from my colleagues through you, sir. But until we hear what other agencies have to say, then we can and make a final decision on it, even if that is how we do feel then, which like I said, I agree with my colleagues.
Thank you. Seconder, any comments?
No.
Good. Any other? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed.
Thank you very much.
Confirmation of the agenda. There's no additions or changes. So the recommendation is that the agenda of September 25th, 2023 be adopted as circulated. Moved by the deputy mayor, seconded by Councillor Ennis. All in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Any declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof this evening? Being none. Adoption of the minutes from September 11th, 2023. Any errors or omissions noted? Being none, do we have a mover to accept them as circulated? Councillor Prodrick, seconded by Councillor Willis. All in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Community and Customer Services Department. 2023 review of heritage culture and tourism summer season operations. The director's coming forward. Any further information or just here to receive comments?
Nothing further, just here for questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions for clarification? Okay, we'll get a motion and then we'll do that. So the recommendation is that the report from the Community and Customer Services Department, Heritage, Culture and Tourism Division, dated September 25th, 2023, read 2023 review of heritage, culture and tourism summer season operations be received for information. Do we have a mover? Deputy Mayor, so moved, seconded by Councillor Willis. Mover, any comments? Seconder?
Through your worship, only to say that I wasn't able to attend all of the events that were put on this summer, but many of them. And I congratulate staff not only for the quantity of events, but the quality. Every one of them was very well done and people were made to feel very welcome. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Councillor Prodrick.
To the director and all the staff, it was great. I went to the Bath Museum. I did the Babcock thing with the mayor. Tunes Day was great. And I think those are the things that in talking with people that attend those events that bring people from outside of Loyalist in, especially the Tunes Day. There was lots of people that I'd known from my previous life and education that came in from one from Aaronsville and Gananoque and so on. So those are the type of events that I really appreciate and thank the staff and the summer students for putting them on. They were great.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. I just wanted to reiterate as well. I made it to a good number of them. Didn't make it to every single one. Although the Tunes Day in the park that I wasn't able to attend, it got rained out. So I think I got a gold star on that one. I did attend all of them. There was a lot of thought and preparation put into them. They were very well received, a lot of very positive comments. The Lions Club at the Tunes Days, they also generated quite a bit of food for the food bank, which was much needed in the community. So the offshoot of some of the events that we held were also very beneficial to the community. So I too just want to thank staff and all the organizers, and the students we had were amazing. When I went through Babcock Mill, I went through with the full presentation that they had, and it was very educational for me. And I thought I knew some history on it, but I was educated on it. So that's very, very good. Back to the mover for final comment.
I just wanted to thank Lindsay T, our manager of Heritage, Culture and Tourism. This division is a new division, and it was created in the last term of council to try and respond to the increasing and augmented nature of our heritage assets in the township. And Misty not only hit the ground running, but started with basically from scratch. And this division has excelled beyond what could only have been limited expectations given what they were starting with. And it just goes from strength to strength. And so our congratulations to her and her team.
Thank you. So with that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. The next one is the free use of the W.J. Henderson Recreation Center parking area. Any questions for clarification from council? Being none. Recommendation is that the report from the Community and Customer Services Department. I don't think I advanced my screen. No, I didn't. That the report from the Community and Customer Services Department Recreation and Facilities Division dated September 25th, 2023, free use of the W.J. Henderson Recreation Center parking area for Correctional Services of Canada Millhaven Institution Employee United Way campaign be received, and the council retroactively approve the request for the free use of part of the W.J. Henderson Recreation Center parking lot for 8 hours on September 17th, 2023 for United Way community event, fundraising event, and council direct staff to transfer $120 from the arena free use budget account to the arena revenue budget account. I made it. Do I have a mover? Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Ennis. Any comments? Mover, seconder, anyone else? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Next one is from Economic Growth and Community Development. Babcock Mill Phase 1 Plan of Subdivision Assumption of 1 foot reserves. We have staff returning. I'm assuming nothing further on this one to provide information. It's the 1 foot reserve.
No, nothing further on that.
Thank you. Council, any questions for clarification? Being none, the recommendation is that the report from the Development Services Division, September 25th, 2023, read Babcock Mill Phase 1 Plan of Subdivision, Assumption of 1 foot reserves, be received, and that the bylaw 2023-065, being a bylaw to assume 1 foot reserves, described as block 37 and 38 on Plan 29M 37, be enacted and passed. Do I have a mover? Councillor Budrick, so moved, seconded by Councillor Prager. Mover, any comments? Seconder, anyone else? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Try to advance at this time. Draft plan approval extension for Bar Homes, Lakeside Ponds, and Lakeside Ponds Phase 2. Any further information on this?
Nothing further.
Nothing. Council, any questions for clarification? Councillor Willis.
Through your worship, is it normal to do the extensions by 5 years or 3 years?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I think we've been mixing it up a little bit in the last couple of years. I think it usually was a standard 3, I believe, but we have noticed things are moving along and have, if somebody requests something at 5 years and it seems like they're moving forward, we'll allow it. Yep. Or recommend it.
Any other questions for clarification? Being none. The recommendation is that the report from the Development Services Division, September 25th, 2023, redraft plan approval extension, Bar Homes, Lakeside Ponds, and Lakeside Ponds Phase 2 be received, and that the following be adopted with, and there's 5 conditions. And further, that pursuant to section 5147, Council for the Corporation of Loyalist Township deems a change to conditions affecting Lakeside Ponds draft plan approval of subdivision, file number D12-250-001, and Lakeside Ponds Phase 2 draft plan approval of subdivision, file D12-252-001, be minor. Do we have a mover? Counselor Broderick. So moved, seconded by Counselor Budrick. Any comments, council? All in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Okay, Lakeside Phase 8, Stage 1, request to remove holding symbol. Any further information on that?
No further information.
Thank you. Any questions for clarification from council? Being none. Recommendation that the report from the Development Services Division, September 25th, 2023, read D14009, 2023, Lakeside Phase 8, Stage 1, request to remove holding symbol be received, and that bylaw 2023-064, being a bylaw to remove the holding symbol with respect to part of Lot 35, Con 1, be enacted and passed. Do I have a mover? Deputy Mayor, so moved, seconded by Councillor Ennis. Any comments from council? Being none, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. The next item is a tree canopy and natural vegetation policy. Any further information to be shared this evening from staff? Nothing.
Nothing further, your worship.
Okay. Any questions for clarification from council? I believe we have some coming in
Just grabbing a. Just through your worship, just maybe some clarification on 5.59. Landowners are encouraged to reforest idle lands. I guess, what can the township do in that case to encourage that? I know people can get saplings to the Conservation Authority and various other things, but what can the township actually do, if anything, to maybe encourage that or push it along? It's on page 25 of the report.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Broderick. I don't think I can't think of off the top of my head anything that we have for the township. I know the intent of the policy was working with higher levels of government, particularly the Ministry of Natural Resources, and I believe the Conservation Authority also has a number of like tree programs and so on that landowners can invest in trees and they have to maintain them for a certain amount of years on their properties. And so I think it was alluding to those kind of programs. It's not to say we can't look into different options for the township as well, but that was the intent of that particular policy.
Yes.
Through you again, your worship, just I guess this is maybe a general overreaching statement or question. Does this allow residents who maybe believe in a more naturalized environment in their yard? And I'm thinking of the urban area. Does that allow that?
Through you, no, because this particular section is related to the rural policy area. So it's for our rural designated lands, not the urban serviced area.
Director?
So just to add to Ms. Furness's statement for the first question, part of this policy as well is to work with our recreation on urban forest management. So the township could do some things to actually for conservation and for forestry as well. And I know it's not specific to 5.59, but something else that we're looking out of the climate action plan is at some point having maybe like a partnership with conservation authorities for tree planting as well. So these are kind of initiatives that the township can take to encourage a healthy tree canopy as well.
Okay, no, but just one more, Your Worship. I was interested because I did not know this. On page 27, it refers to the Brothers Island. Is that a township property? I always thought that was a federal. So we own, the township of Loyalist owns that property? Anybody know? Anyway, just
Through
maybe
you,
something.
I'm not entirely sure on the ownership. I know that this particular section in the official plan that it's referencing, I don't know if it's intending that it consists of all township properties. The policy continues on that way.
Yeah.
But I believe initially that the thought was that all of those three were township owned. If that's changed over any time, I'm not aware of it, but.
Yeah, through your Your Worship. Yeah, I appreciate you just sort of find out. And again, with the whole thing, and I think I've heard this since I've been on council, and I'm very happy to hear it, is the down near the end of page 42, just that public education is the key to get all these things going, because you know, I didn't know about the brothers, and I like to think I'm fairly astute with things that go on around here, but that's a key thing to make any of this successful. And hopefully we'll get into at some point the urban garden type thing, because I think that's going to be ongoing if we don't come up with some kind of solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for clarification? Councillor Willis.
Through your worship. I don't have the page reference, but it's about the rural rights of way. And if I'm reading it properly, it says that if the township is about to cut down trees in our road allowances or rights of way, that the landowners will be notified. And if there's, and that they would be offered trees to replace the ones that are cut down. Is that something that's already existed, or is this a new addition to how we do this?
Through you, this is an existing policy.
So if there are rights of way where
Your mic shut off.
Sorry.
Thank you.
If there are rights of way where trees have been cut down, say in the spring with road work, those landowners should have been contacted and offered trees.
So through you, your worship, I know specifically for projects that our group is responsible for, we do speak with the property owners to see if they want a tree. Sometimes they don't, and species that are available for maintenance in the right of way. Might want to defer to maybe Public Works to see if there's something that they do when they're doing maintenance in the right of way. Sorry, Lori.
Through you, your worship. Yes, we do have a tree replacement policy, and in some instances, trees in the right of way are replanted, but each case, it gets dependent on the reasons why the trees may have been removed. So it might have to do with sight lines. It might have to do with different reasons. But typically, yes, they are replaced.
Sorry, just for my clarity, because, you know, trees. So would those be replanted in the exact same spot, or would the property owner be given the opportunity to have a tree planted in a different area where it's not going to cause future problems?
Through you, your worship. To my knowledge, yes, but I will stipulate I'm talking mainly in the urban areas. In terms of the rural areas, I would just have to check with closely with our Public Works division, because off the top of my head, I wouldn't want to answer that one way or the other.
Am I right in? Through your worship, am I right in reading that the policy does say that that would happen in future, though? Or any work?
Yes, through you, it does stay at all times when possible. So I think that that exemption is provided out for the type of example that the director just provided. I would also add that where it speaks to the replacement type in subdivisions, subdivisions are bounded by subdivision agreements, and which contain landscape plans that are represented in the subdivision agreement that has particular locations on where those trees are to be placed. And so oftentimes there's not options for a property owner to request a different spot because they're often strategically located in order to avoid hydro transformers, cable pedestals, streetlights, for example.
Any other questions for clarification? Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. And through the mayor. So there's a discussion in here of the process where you know, a developer comes and works with township staff to, if possible, you know, save some mature trees if it can kind of be placed in areas where there isn't a road or there isn't a building, and that sort of happens, I guess, at the plan of subdivisions stage around there. So I'm just wondering, do we in this or elsewhere, do we have any purview over if a developer owns a chunk of land and prior to coming with a plan of subdivision, you know, if, you know, I think maybe we probably all saw, you know, what happened in Ottawa, where some of the lands are being clear cut just without prior to, you know, the developers coming to the township or to the municipality. So I'm just wondering if in here or elsewhere we have any kind of purview over that type of situation.
Yes, through your worship, that would be our tree bylaw would come into effect in that case. So if someone was looking to clear cut on a development property prior to, you know, getting subdivision approvals, they would be required to submit a tree permit. And then with that, the same thing would be required for, you know, a plan of subdivision, where as part of the tree permit application, we require an inventory by an arborist. They have to rate the condition of the tree, the size of the trees, and species at risk trees, and they have to prepare like a retention plan as well. There are some exemptions in the tree bylaw in regards to farming. So there's exemptions here and there, but we don't have to grant a tree permit. It has to be like, there has to be a reason. And that's why the tree permit was a tree bylaw was initially put in place, because there was some clear cutting occurring in the township, and it was a mechanism to stop it from happening.
Any other questions for clarification? Seeing none. The recommendation is that the report from the Development Services Division, September 25th, 2023, read tree canopy and natural vegetation policy be received, and the bylaw 2023-066 being a bylaw to adopt a policy with respect to the manner in which the Corporation of Loyalist Township will protect and enhance the tree canopy and natural vegetation in the township be enacted and passed. Do I have a mover? Councillor Willis, so moved, seconded by Councillor Ennis. Mover, any comments? Seconder? Anyone else? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Pre-budget approval, Lakeside Sewage Treatment Pumping Station. Pump 2 replacement. Anything to add to the report this evening? No. Council, any questions for clarification? Councillor Broderick.
Through you, your worship, just some general questions. On page 2 of the report, it refers to a contingency. So in the $905,000, I assume there's like a percentage you always hold back for unanticipated costs. Is there ever a possibility that's never spent and goes back into the budget, or is that I guess?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, that happens on many projects. And typically what will happen is at the year-end budget process, we'll provide the information to finance whether or not a project budget can be closed out with the money left in the account.
Okay, and if I could continue, is there a percentage, like just for my own information, is there a percentage on each project, or is it vary project to project?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it very much is dependent on the project and the conditions encountered.
Okay, and if I could just ask a couple of questions. So I've read in the report that pump 2 failed in May. So total failure, like not operating at all. Okay, so how are we meeting any kind of backup? I think the word is redundancy used in the report. How are we doing that, I guess, now if one of our pumps isn't available?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So currently we are able to, with the 2 operating pumps, meet the demands on the system. The redundancy in the system is the 3rd pump that has failed. So if another pump does go, it will present issues to the township. That said, the lead time on pumps is long. So we have been looking at contingency plans in place in terms of mobilizing an additional temporary pump setup to manage that. The costs on that are high. So we're trying to balance the need for that now versus in the future if it is necessary without incurring extra costs.
Now, just to finish with my last question was sort of that. Is it preferred from your department's point of view, forgetting the financing, I know that is always a thing. I'm of the view that a timeline of planned replacement as opposed to a failure or whatever. And even the term of dictated by growth, I'm not big on that. It should be dictated by the machinery, not the growth, because you see where I'm going with that. If even if you have growth, if the machinery or the pumps aren't working, it's still not going to be a good thing. Anyways, thank you.
Any other questions for clarification? Sorry, go ahead. Can you just turn yours?
I can provide just a bit of extra context on that. So this pump did fail in advance of its typical service life. So I think it was approximately 12 years old, and normally we would anticipate seeing them replaced at about 20, depending on the pump and the varying specifics of the case. So in this case, we didn't have the opportunity to wait until the pump could be replaced based on asset life. Which is something that I very much agree with, and is what we're looking to do, is optimize asset lives. But in this case, as the pump has failed now, and we are anticipating the growth within the future cycle of the proposed pump's life, that's why we're going with the as needed by growth in this instance.
Thank you. Any other questions for clarification? Seeing none, the recommendation that the report from the Engineering and Environment Division, September 25th, 2023, pre-budget approval, Lakeside SPS Pump 2 replacement be received, and that staff be authorized to increase pump capacity at Lakeview Pump Station, and the council authorized pre-budget approval in 2024 in the amount of $905,000 to be funded through utility user rates, reserve funds, and impost fees. Do I have a mover? Councilor Broderick, so moved, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any comments? Mover, seconder? Anyone else? I just have a quick comment. It's amazing what these pumps pump. When I read that report and I saw the volumes that we're dealing with, it's almost hard to imagine. Just a side note. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Status of water and sewer uncommitted reserve capacity. Any further information on this item?
No, Your Worship.
Council, any questions for clarification? Okay. The recommendation is that the report from the Engineering and Environment Division, September 25th, 2023, status of water and sewer uncommitted reserve capacity be received, and that staff prepare a capacity allocation policy for consideration by council, and prior to the adoption of a new capacity allocation policy, any development recommended for draft plan approval be allocated up to 3 years capacity with draft plan approval. The remainder of the development be subject to a holding symbol, with the condition requiring that for each future phase of development, confirmation of adequate sewer and water capacity be available at the time the holding symbol is removed for the phase of development. Do I have a mover? Councillor Willis. So moved, seconded by Councillor Budrick. Mover, any comments? Seconder?
It's just nice that this is going to tie into our.
Oh, just one second, Councillor Budrick.
I can reserve comments for another
Oh.
time. Thank you. If it's not working, another time.
It's working now, Councillor Budrick.
Oh, thank you. It's nice just to see this tying in with the infrastructure master plan. Looking forward on capacity and things like that. So it's fantastic work by the staff. That's all.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Conditional permit agreements under the Building Code Act. Welcome. Any further information beyond the report this evening?
Yes, Your Worship. I just wanted to bring a small clarification here because there's been a revision since the first agenda was published, and I wanted to explain why. A line was added in the bylaw itself that states that, not word for word, but any other bylaw conflicting with this one takes priority. And it's because in the meantime, we realized that the delegation of authority bylaw had wording on conditional building permits already in it. And we didn't get a chance to put that in the report. So I wanted to explain that to council a little bit. So you're aware that there was already delegation of authority for a conditional building permit to be signed, to be signed by the mayor and CAO. What we're recommending, in our opinion, is a little bit more efficient because all of the requirements of obtaining a conditional building permit agreement is already in the building bylaw. So that's what we're recommending for efficiency purposes, that we're solely just adding that permission or delegation in the building bylaw. So, it will keep the process a little bit more efficient for when these types of permits have to be, are requested or are required.
Thank you. Council, any questions for clarification on this item? Councillor Broderick.
Through your worship, just two sort of ideas here. A conditional permit, is that a individual permit, like I go and get a permit for a pool or whatever? Or would this apply to subdivision development or both?
Through your worship, the conditional permit can be any of the above. It can be an individual permit for a structure or for a group of structures. It is generally, a conditional permit is generally issued when not issuing a permit would be an unreasonable delay, such as a site plan is going through and is off to the lawyers and will be 3 weeks away. So we issue a conditional permit, the condition that the site plan agreement is signed, but we get them moving ahead 3 weeks, which can be a big deal in the fall when you're trying to get foundations in.
So again, through your worship, what I'm basically hearing is it's probably going to be, everything's going to be okay, but you just want to move, you're trying to move the process quicker.
Yes. Okay. A lot of thought goes into this and a lot of consultation with planning and engineering to make sure that it's just dotting the I's and crossing the T's before I will issue a conditional permit. I don't like issuing them, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for clarification? Seeing none. Recommendation is that the report from the Development Services Division, September 25th, 2023, conditional permit agreements under the Building Code Act be received and the bylaw 2023-067, amending the building bylaw to grant authority to the chief building official to enter into conditional permit agreements on behalf of the Corporation of Loyalist Township be enacted and passed. Do we have a mover? Deputy Mayor, so moved, seconded by Councillor Ennis. Any comments from the mover, seconder, any other member? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. Next up is community risk assessment. Welcome. Is there any further information to share this evening beyond the report?
The only thing I'd like to bring to council's attention is that we looked around about doing this community risk assessment about a year ago. I was approached by our former deputy chief and assistant chief, Mike Grenham, who's with me tonight, and they convinced me to let us do it in-house. It took them about 8 months. It's a very, very well-written and well-prepared document, and I have to give them kudos because it saved us a whole bunch of money. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. So council, any questions for clarification? Councillor Broderick.
Just through your worship, a couple of comments, maybe questions. I noticed in the report there, again, another huge jump in the medical calls. I think it was up 35%. I guess that's obviously a big drain on the fire department in terms of your time and, you know, what is there a way to get that number down that anybody can do in our township, or is it just more, you know, the county medical, Lennox and ambulance, et cetera? Everybody's hands are tied, I guess, in a sense, and we're the first responders.
Through your worship, to Councillor Broderick, there was, the provincial average is a little over 30% for medical calls. There is a new dispatch system coming that is supposed to gonna help some of these time delays, but in all reality, these stats came through COVID. And our medical responses went up significantly through COVID, just not for any COVID related illnesses, just the medical responses went up. Ambulances were struggling with unloading processes. So.
And if I may, just a couple of thoughts more than anything. In terms of the rink and the pool, in terms of any kind of emergencies, in my own judgment, I guess, it would be prudent, I think, to have some kind of posted emergency plan. I'm thinking more of a chemical spill or an accident. A number of years ago, I think it was in London, where there was an ammonia leak and, you know, people were in the arena, didn't know how to deal with it, or maybe weren't aware of it. And I guess the one thing I was sort of confused a bit about, so CN Rail has a jurisdiction within 500 meters of the tracks. They don't, in an emergency plan, a chemical spill off a train or whatever, do they take precedence over Loyalist Township Emergency Services, or who's making the calls in that case?
Through your worship, in the event of a rail emergency, although Loyalist Township would be involved, CN would take the lead. They have the expertise and the resources. They'll bring resources in from anywhere across Canada. So I wouldn't say they would be in charge, but they definitely take the lead. We have a really good working relationship with CN, as most fire departments do. They wanna always play nice. So.
And just final one, Your Worship, and I'm just comparing this to maybe the Invista site in terms, any of the new, do any of them, I guess the bigger manufacturers have their own fire crew or any kind of or is that basically first calls to Loyalists and, you know, whether it's Latham Pools or whoever? Do they have any of their own internal organizations in that sense?
Your worship, no. The former Celanese plant, Invista plant had a fire team. And one thing I would like to note is that.
Just shut off.
I don't usually need a mic. One of the nice things that with the remodeling of the W.J. Henderson Recreation Center is we are going to get rid of that ammonia system, I hope.
Thank you. Any other questions for clarification? Councillor Willis.
And through your worship, I do know that the ferries mentioned later in the report, but on page 39 of 40, where we list the critical infrastructure that's in the township, we note public transit being bus and school buses, but we don't note the ferries. Should that be part of the critical infrastructure? Thank you. It's a very comprehensive report and it was a good read. Thank you for all 178 pages of it. What's the next step to this? Is it to then look at our emergency response plan and understand where we may not have plans to mitigate the risks, like new things have happened, heat and, the need for cooling and things like that. So what is the next step to this?
The next step is we review this yearly, and anything new that comes out, we'll add to the plan. And we'll review it for 4 years after that. And then the 5th year, we redo the plan all over again from scratch.
Clarity. Is that our emergency response plan that we do every 5 years or the risk assessment plan?
Sorry, the risk assessment plan.
Okay. And when do we relook at the emergency response plan? When does it get reviewed?
Through your worship, the emergency response plan is on my to-do list this year. But we annually review it and we file our compliance with the province. But we are going to look at redoing the plan. But yes, it is annually reviewed as well as all of the other documents with it.
And that always comes to council as well?
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions for clarification? Seeing none. Recommendation is that the report from the Emergency Services Department, September 25th, 2023, community risk assessment be received, and that the report authorized by the Deputy Chief be received and the community risk assessment be approved. Do I have a mover? Councillor Willis. So moved, seconded by Councillor Budrick. Mover, any further comments? Seconder? Anyone else? Seeing none, I just want to thank, I know there were 2 key leads on it, and when I was working out of the Amherst Fire Hall for a while, I saw the 2 of them back working on different projects, and I believe this was one of them that they were very in-depth on. And when I walked through the room, I just walked straight through because I did not want to disturb them and lose their train of thought. So I appreciate the amount of work that went into it, and it is very comprehensive. There's a lot of information, and just want to thank staff, the fire department, and yourself, Mr. Greenham, and Mr. Feeney as well as the leads. And it was a big savings for the township. And I believe that we ended up with a good product considering the people that were authors in it really knew the township well and knew the needs. So thank you. So with that, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. So notice of motion or direct motion. Do we have any direct motions this evening? Seeing none, do we have any notice of motion to be brought forward this evening? Seeing none, consent agenda. Not going to read through it. Any item can be separated at the wish of a counselor. And otherwise, they will all be passed together, but noted individually on the agenda, on the minutes. Any items to be extracted this evening by council? Seeing none. We have a motion that the items in the consent agenda dated September 25th, 2023 be approved as presented and that the necessary action be taken. Do I have a mover? Deputy Mayor Townend, any seconded by Councillor Budrick. Mover, any comments on any of the items? Seconder, anyone else? Councillor Broderick.
Sorry, your worship, I gotta ask, 21.2, $225,000 in portable toilets. I just wanted to know what, that's a lot of toilets.
Is that?
Just give me an idea. What, I know what they're used for, but I guess where they're used.
Would that be all the parks and any of the other facilities where the public attend and we require washrooms? For a variety of, there's acts that we need to follow, but then there's also just comfort level and cleaning, right? So yes, they'd be maintained weekly, and then the install and removal would be in that as well.
So if I may, yeah. So those are more, I guess, a permanent type of situation, like at Fairfield Park, there's one there or two, and an external company does all the. And then on a thing like, I don't recall if Tuesday in the Park had any, but anytime they're brought in, is it one central, it's one contract? Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Being none, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Committee minutes, sorry. Updates from members appointed to county council committees or local boards. Any information to be brought forward this evening? Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Worship. I attended on behalf of the Conservation Authority, Conservation Ontario meeting today in Toronto, and just a few highlights. The annual work plan was presented. A federal pre-budget submission was presented. Great Lakes St. Lawrence Commission on Coastal Resilience was passed, and a short-term funding strategy on Great Lake water management. And again, we discussed a smart climate solutions fund being available.
Thank you. Anything else to be brought forward from council members? Seeing none. Members' privilege. Any items to be brought forward under members' privilege? Seeing none. I just have a couple. Condolences to the family of Dave Snyder, part of the Agricultural Society and a number of other groups within the municipality, lifelong resident and also a local auctioneer for, I believe, pretty much all his life, and a great historian. We lost a great historian. And the other is Carol Fairbanks. Condolences to the family on her passing. And she was the wife of our longtime road superintendent, Harold Fairbanks, who was quite a staple in the community and a longtime employee. So the next item is confirmatory bylaw. Do we have a motion for the confirmatory bylaw? Councillor Willis, so moved, seconded by Councillor Broderick. All in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. We have the upcoming meeting dates listed here for the month of October. And the next one is a motion to adjourn. Do we have a mover to adjourn? Councillor Ennis, so moved, seconded by Councillor Willis. All in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. We are adjourned at 8:25. Thank you.